traction. A long campaign is now.
This is the car market in Mogadishu.
NATO's military success against
many Western nations.
This is On Assignment.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We have a big announcement for you this week, and it's one that is very bittersweet for us. This next half hour marks the last episode of On Assignment.
Our show comes to an end after more than 3 years on the air. We have greatly enjoyed coming to you each week with stories from our VOA colleagues here in Washington and around the world.
We can't thank you enough for watching and sharing your time with us, but as they say, all good things must come to an end.
But the show is not over yet. Coming up, we'll rewind a few of our most memorable recent segments.
First up, a VOA reporter on patrol with Kurdish forces in Iraq.
Our coverage at the height of the Ebola crisis.
Graffiti for good in Washington, D.C. neighborhoods, and much more.
So come along with us for the last time as we take you on assignment. We start with a story we brought you in August of last year. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis had fled attacking Islamic State militants, and the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region in the north had become a haven for many refugees, including those from Syria's civil war.
VOA's Jeffrey Young traveled with the forces providing security for the refugee camps and the region, Kurdistan's Peshmerga military. He talked with On Assignment's Philip Alexio about the experience.
Jeffrey Young, you were embedded with the Peshmerga military in Kurdistan. And so how long were you with them recently, and where did you go and what did you see?
I spent an entire day with the Peshmerga out on security patrol. But all the time that I was in Kurdistan, about a week and a half, the Peshmerga were constantly around us. They provide security and order. They are providing the protection for the Kurdistan region against the Islamic State, against any incursion by any insurgents. And they're a formidable force, but they're woefully underarmed.
What are the conditions like on a trip like that?
I was in an armed vehicle. I was piled in with a bunch of Peshmerga soldiers, and we were out on the streets of Kirkuk and in the surrounding area on a security patrol.
Okay.
We did not see actual combat, but 25 kilometers south of my position on the road between Kirkuk and Tikrit, there were other Peshmerga units engaged in active combat against elements of the Islamic State. So my particular unit that I was embedded with was not directly involved in combat, but combat was very close by.
And you also went to some of the oil fields that they had taken back from ISIS, is that right?
Absolutely. Right. And this is the revenue stream for a possible state of Kurdistan.
Kirkuk in northern Iraq has fabulous oil wealth. It is an ethnically divided city. For years, Kurdish, Arab, and Turkmen factions fought each other. Then, insurgents including the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, unleashed their terror. In June, Kurdistan Regional Government Peshmerga troops, reputed to be some of the toughest fighters in this region, moved into Kirkuk to restore stability and to protect the oil beneath it.
And President Barzani, the president of the Kurdistan Regional Government, has made it clear that independence is his goal. And he doesn't mean sometime far in the future. He's talking pretty soon.
You went to a refugee camp as well, right?
Yes, I went to Camp Kaiser, which is about 40 kilometers west of Erbil.
And what did you observe over there?
A massive humanity that had been driven in terror from Mosul, from Tal Afar, from places all over northern and western Iraq.
Thousands of refugees live here in Camp Kaiser. They settled here in blistering heat with the few things they carried from home as they fled the militants of the Islamic State in the Levant or Syria's civil war.
And Kurdistan opened its borders and said, we will take in these people. The Kurdistan Regional Government said, we will work with the UN High Commission with Refugees, with UNICEF, with other people, with NGOs. There's now a massive number of refugees and internally displaced people.
A story emblematic of the wartime coverage many of our correspondents have done, thanks to Jeff and all of our colleagues who have put themselves at great risk to bring you stories from the heart of the world's conflicts.
Another big story we looked at last year was Ebola in West Africa. As officials there tried to contain the outbreak, they had to fight many factors contributing to the disease's spread, including porous borders, misinformation, and stigma.
VOA Africa Health reporter Lenore Madu covered the outbreak from the beginning. She joined Imran at this desk right here in mid-2014. Take a look.
And joining me right now is VOA reporter Leonard Madu, who's also hosting Africa Health Chat. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
The first time we heard about this was in 1976. What makes this one so different?
This time around, what makes it different is, first of all, the way it has spread, the location, not just in one country, but quickly it spread in 3 countries. We saw it started in Guinea, spread to Liberia and Sierra Leone very, very quickly. And also the numbers of people, the number of people that are being infected and people that are dying. As of today, we have over 700 people that are being infected with over 500 deaths, which is unprecedented. In the past, when we've seen high numbers, was in 1976 when it was first discovered. Of course, at that time, no one knew what it was, so the disease had the time to spread and make more victims. So back then, there were over 300 people that were infected and a little close to 300 deaths. And in 2000, the second biggest outbreak was in 2000 in Uganda, where you had more than 400 people that were infected and a little over 200 deaths. But this time around, it's much, much more.
And people are also concerned about the stigma that the disease carries, and people, because of that, are not coming out.
Definitely. It's not just stigma. As the Deputy Health Minister of Liberia said, Mrs. Dawn Bernice, she said that one of the challenges is the fact that there is denial, there is fear, and there is panic. So we can add to that stigma, and we can also add to that mistrust. Mistrust, why? Because some people believe, some locals believe that this is a Western-made disease. This disease was brought in by the Westerners. And also, when we talk about stigma, sometimes they think even if they recover from the disease, people will not approach them anymore, or people think that this is due to a bad omen or a juju, local belief. And so when you have denial, they don't think that it is Ebola, they don't know Ebola. You have fear because there is no treatment, because there is no vaccination, and many other reasons, so people panic.
People were panicking then. It's been a relief to see the outbreak ease since, thanks to VOA Health reporter Lenore Madu.
We're taking a break now. When we come back, tales from the U.S.-Mexico border. You're watching On Assignment.
The border separating the United States and Mexico is a long one, spanning 3,200 kilometers for the countless undocumented immigrants who attempt to cross it each year. The journey is difficult and often deadly.
VOA's Ramon Taylor traveled to the border for VOA last year, going to Arizona and also Texas. Let's rewind our conversation.
For the people that are living on the northern side of the border, both in Texas and Arizona, this has become a very real part of life, a very normal part of the crisis is really directly affecting them in a way that I think speaks to the crisis in a way that you don't normally see in headlines. In Texas, for example, you'll notice that it's normal for school kids to witness new arrivals every day. Many of them who are lost, confused, don't speak a word of English. And you probably have a friend or a friend of a friend that has given food or water to an immigrant that has just made that long journey. In Arizona, you have a very different scenario where you're dealing with even more extreme weather conditions due to not just the temperature itself, but the terrain, which is very mountainous, takes many days to cross. And it's very normal to see a helicopter fly over you and realize that oftentimes, they are not carrying somebody who has made it. They're carrying somebody who has perished along the way. And that's a very, I think, real and telling part of the story that these citizens, no matter what your background is, no matter what your position is, this is a very real part of life.
You profiled a group, Humane Borders, that is working to try to ease some of the conditions for these immigrants as they're crossing the border. Tell us about what they do.
There are a lot of great organizations both in Texas and Arizona. In Arizona, we met with Humane Borders, which is run by just 2 full-time employees, along with some very dedicated volunteers. And what they do may seem very simple and yet so crucial, and that's provide water. It becomes a very, very intricate task what they have to do on a daily basis. I mean, from gaining access to private land to determining where these barrels will actually save the most lives, to the engineering that goes behind how to keep these cool under those kind of conditions.
Such a powerful story that Ramon covered for us. Now to our next story about an artist in California who builds portable homes for the homeless.
Greg Klein constructs these small enclosures from discarded materials. VOA's Michael Sullivan met with the artist and some residents of the tiny houses last year. Let's take another look.
This industrial section of West Oakland is dotted with tiny houses designed and built by a local artist. Greg Klein has built and given away at least 20 of these structures.
I like to help them, sure. I mean, it's fun for me. I like to make things, and to do something that makes a big impact in someone's life is good.
How did Greg come up with this idea of building homes for the homeless in his community?
Well, you know, in about 2005, Greg moved into this area of West Oakland, which is an industrial area. It's the port area. It's the area where the writer Jack London lived and worked in a cannery area 100 years ago. It's a kind of a rough area, a lot of small factories, a lot of freeway overpasses. He moved in there to create an artist studio because the land was very cheap. But he noticed there were a lot of homeless people who would settle in the area as well. And he said one day, one of the homeless people came up to him, it was raining, and asked if he could help provide shelter. Oscar Young got a home and relief from chilly nights on the street.
Well, it's better than living on the ground, to tell you the truth, because if it wasn't for Greg, I would be still on the ground.
He happened to be experimenting with building small structures. His initial thought was that he could build a small structure just using discarded materials and perhaps sell these. But he had one sitting outside his studio, and he thought, well, I'll let this homeless person sleep in this, and eventually he gave it away. And then he started building one after another. And he's built something like 20 of these structures so far. They are on wheels. They're theoretically portable, although people generally try to find a place, set them up, and basically you just move in. Some on the streets once had houses of their own, but Sheila Williams has learned to live with less.
I had it all just like you people do out there. But now look at me now. I'm living in one of Greg's houses, and I'm thankful to that man.
So this is a place that they can lock up, they can keep things safe, they can be secure themselves at night, and they can be sheltered from the elements when the weather gets bad. And it really makes all the difference. It just gives them a sense of belonging and a sense that they have a place to call home.
And that was VOA's Michael Sullivan. It's such a universal need, a place to call home. And it's stories like these that we hope you have appreciated watching over the years.
Yeah, we're taking another break now. On the other side, preserving rhinos in Africa and city walls in Washington. We'll explain. You're watching On Assignment.
And welcome back to our final episode of On Assignment. We are replaying some of our most memorable past segments, such as this next story from South Africa.
Most of the world's rhinoceros population lives in South Africa, but they are under threat from poachers for their horns, which are more valuable than gold in Asian markets.
A trade ban on rhino horns has been in place for decades, but the species has been losing the fight against extinction. VOA's Chris Simpkins went to a private game park in South Africa where the rhino is getting some protection. Take a look.
Park Ranger C.J. Lombard and his tracker Patrick Moyani are out on another game drive looking for rhinoceros.
If you look carefully, you can see the front toenail, one side toenail, the other side toenail, and the heel.
In this private South African game park, part of the larger Kruger National Park, Lombard and Moyani not only track rhinos, but search for poachers who want to kill the animals for their horns.
This Kruger National Park region is one of the biggest areas and hotbed areas for poaching activity, animal poaching activity. So we saw some evidence of some dead elephants, some dead rhinos, and it's just hard to see such majestic mammals being slaughtered like that for their ivory tusk or for the rhino horns.
And these animals are on the endangered species list, so they're protected, supposedly, worldwide.
They have been, and rhinoceros have been protected since 1976, I believe. There's been an international trade ban, but that has not stopped the poachers or the value of their horns in Asian markets, where in some cases they're worth more than gold. A rhino horn can fetch about $60,000 for a kilo.
But why is that? I mean, what is it about rhino horns that are so attractive?
In rhino, it's a belief, basically, a belief mostly in Asian cultures where they believe that the rhino horn has some kind of medicinal value, that you can crush up the horn, and they think that it can cure things like cancer, arthritis, stomach aches. But none of this is really true.
VOA's Chris Simpkins. Moving now to a story from right here in Washington, where officials came up with an innovative program that embraces the talents of local graffiti artists.
And this program aims to control unwanted graffiti, replacing it with art with a purpose. VOA's Julie Tabo brought that story to us.
The workshop is part of a program called Murals DC that city officials have created to overcome their graffiti problem. After 10 weeks of training, most of the students work with Eric Ricks to create a vibrant, one-of-a-kind mural on a wall which was once defaced with graffiti.
And this is a very diverse group of artists, too. Tell us about some of the places that these artists come from.
Well, Eric Ricks, who was the main feature of our story, comes from Liberia. He fled the Civil War. He's been in this country since he was 14 years old. There's also Aniakan Udofia, who comes from Nigeria. And he too has a similar story where, he has come to this country and found a great way of having his art expressed. And he's done many murals on the city. He's one of the actually best known muralists in town. And he's also conducted workshops in the past, and he really feels that this is a way of getting the message across to these young people that you don't have to do it under cover of darkness, you don't have to do it illegally. Come and let your work be seen and be praised and paid for it.
Now, you got the chance to spend a good amount of time with Eric Ricks. Tell us about him and your time with him.
Eric is a very special person. I mean, here's someone who really finds the opportunities given to him here to be the American story, the American dream.
Being an immigrant, I have to say, man, I am truly living the American dream, because it's the only place I can think of that I've ever been that you could take something so off the cuff like graffiti and turn that into something that you can live off.
He told me on camera and off camera that he never believed that he could actually be a graffiti artist and be praised for his work, recognized for his work, paid for his work, and also be a mentor to other children and young aspiring artists.
VOA's Julie Tabo from a conversation we had with her in 2014. And with that, we are coming to the end of our very last episode of On Assignment.
But before we go, we'd like to show you something more from our On Assignment team, talking about what we've tried to accomplish with the show, what it meant to us and to our VOA reporters.
So let's take another look at what we all did when we went on assignment. It's the end of an era.
Hi, this is Imran Siddiqui from VOA's Urdu TV.
And I'm Alex Villarreal. I'm an English language reporter, and we are going to take you on assignment.
Let's go.
Now, you are living in Islamabad now. Have you?
On Assignment has been making news. That's the thing I love about it. It's making news that otherwise doesn't get broadcast.
Right. What were you able to see while you were there?
Be able to go into the mind of our reporters who sometimes report from dangerous locations.
This is a community center about 300 meters from the site of the Westgate Mall.
They seem desensitized to us, and we kind of humanize those reporters.
When you're doing a story like this, of course, we are trained to be objective. But how can you not be emotionally affected?
It's very difficult. And actually, often afterwards is when you try to compartmentalize.
The one story that had the biggest impact on me was the story that we did, a very personal story from one of our former VOA colleagues, Zulima Palacio.
Palacio had a medical device surgically implanted in her chest.
Deep breath. This story was about her struggle with breast cancer.
All I was thinking was,
why? There is no cancer in my family. I have done everything right.
At that time, she was missing her hair because of the treatments, and she agreed to have this moment with me where she took off her wig.
It's coming in like a baby's hair. Touch it.
This was something that was even beyond anything we've done with anyone else.
It was 40 hours of footage.
Two sides of the story are...
and also by my in-laws, the Gelmans.
I'm really pleased that so many of the correspondents have really enjoyed being on the show.
Can you counter a drought?
Well, there are some states...
It's really fun to be able to kind of get behind the scenes of your story, to talk about what it was like to be there.
We will actually save a whole bunch of water.
It's an opportunity to talk more about the theme and the message of the stories. This is what the festival is all about. Let's all do gestures, big and small, to reach out to one another, support one another, and help make the world a better place.
Born to win in every situation in life.
Television's having to leave their home.
Sorry, everybody, about all the wild camera work. That's kind of the new hip thing, so we were just being hip.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Like
there
that.
we go,
Oh,
just like that.
I'm feeling sick.
In a deeply religious region.
Thank you for tuning in, week after week.
Yeah, we've really appreciated being able to come to you with all the stories, the best of VOA.
I think it'll always come to, you're going to miss the people you've been working with.
What I'll miss most is everybody I work with.
You are the one who argues, actually. I'm just taking you out.
No, you straighten me out very loudly.
It was a fantastic team.
The thing I'm going to miss most about On Assignment is the people.
All for one, one for all.
We were really a fun bunch. We were just goofy, joking, but we knew exactly when to get serious. We're starting on camera 3.
Can I say Islamist extremist?
We're gonna really, really miss Alex.
Running late. Do you have an interest in going to Mars? For me personally, I want to say goodbye to all of you who watched the program. I hope you got a lot out of it.
And if you live here, you can just take the book and go on the journey.
Just the great reporters that were on the show. We're gonna miss you.
All we got for that is pictures, right?
For On Assignment's last assignment, we say to you, farewell.
The city has no objection to what he's doing.
Well, you know, theoretically you cannot...
On behalf of everyone from On Assignment, thank you so much for watching.
And now the moment has come for our final minutes here on set in Studio 55. We want to bring up our entire On Assignment team.
Come on, guys.
To say goodbye and thank you. Yes, everybody up.
Everybody here.
Everybody up.
Rebecca Ward.
Yes.
Martin Seacrest, Zdenko Novaci, Philip Alexio, Kevin
Raymond
right here.
All of us have worked together to bring this show to you.
Still working.
Every week. Still working, yes. We're still working right now.
Now you know how many people it takes to do a program.
And there are more. There are more where we came from. We have Lisa Vora, who's not here today. And, of course, our tireless tech team in the control room making this show recording happen every week.
And then, of course, our editors, which are Kip, Vlad, and Doug. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who's worked on this show.
We will all miss bringing you On Assignment with us. Be sure to keep watching voanews.com.
Yes. And watching other VOA programs where the stories and work that you've grown to know so well through this show will continue.
From all of us here, thank you so much for joining us every week for On Assignment. This is our last assignment. This is us signing off for the last time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.